Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Hello. Welcome back to Venture Starters. All right, people are going to be loading in for a few minutes here.
Okay.
Welcome back. By the way, it's great if you want to have your video camera on, but you can also just not have your video on because, this is going to be a speaker series event and we're all going to be learning tonight. So it's up to you. That said, if you're going to do any Q&A participation, you have to have your video camera on at the time that you're doing that. We're a visual event, and it's really important that you do that. I want to thank everybody for coming out on a Monday night. Norma and we welcome all of you. It's so great to see, I see a lot of names, familiar names, and even a few new ones. Hope to attract more and more people to come to our speaker series. This is the third actually in the series so far. We're hoping to do dozens more. I was asked yesterday by one of the great things about Venture Starters is the community is filled with amazing people, and one of them from Boston flew in over the weekend. I had a chance to spend a couple hours
Okay.
with them yesterday, and it
Yeah.
was. We're gonna. Oh, by the way, we got to keep everybody on mute. Please mute all.
Probably get some bread and absorb it.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, we'll try and keep everybody on mute for this evening. Anyways, I was just mentioning was while I stall for a minute while our audience arrives before we start into the speaker series here. I had a great opportunity to meet somebody within the Venture Starters community yesterday from across the country. Norm and I are on the West Coast. This gentleman flew in from the East Coast and it gave me and him an opportunity to not just get to know each other, but also to dream up ways that we can help improve the planet and do some amazing things. And it's just one additional example of how great it's been. This community is filled with amazing, amazing people, and we are creating magic for a lot of you, hopefully all of you eventually. It's really been gratifying to see where we've come and where we are right now. But he asked me, how I would describe the reason why we're doing the speaker series. And others have asked me as well. And essentially, I was writing this down before the event because I wanted to basically say what among the reasons Norm and I decided to also focus on education in a way is to embrace the gift of learning new things. And each speaker event comes with the opportunity to expand our horizons and enrich our lives. My father just turned 91 years old and he's still a student of life. And he keeps reminding my family how important it is to remain a student. And being a student keeps you alive. So, we are all founders, we're service providers, we're investors, we're people just interested in watching the entrepreneurial process. That is the community that we are, but we're also in need of, I think, constant learning and improvements. And within our community, I'm hoping we'll be able to do a bunch of that. So thank you for showing up again for this event. A couple of other quick announcements, and then I'm going to be stage right while Aaron Doyle takes over the event. This Wednesday, we're having a unicorn night. There's going to be 7 companies pitching. We had dozens and dozens and dozens of people who emailed me, and honestly, I did not know what to do because there were too many people who emailed, and so many of you were worthy of being considered for a unicorn night. I made the decision subjectively and tried to not end up having the majority of the founders be in the life sciences area, where being able to potentially save lives always made me think that those were companies that could be billion-dollar babies. I tried to spread it out among a few industries, and we have now a fantastic list of people for future unicorn events. So if you are not notified already that you're pitching on Wednesday, it means that you're on our waiting list for future events. Those of you who we did select have been notified, and I'm sorry that process took the weekend to figure out, but I didn't anticipate so many people submitting. Thank you all very much. But we're going to just have 7 people. They'll have 5 minutes to pitch with their deck. Very unusual for us to have a deck involved, but we're going to basically focus on just 7 companies with a deck and then Q&A. Please come on Wednesday to Unicorn Night. All these companies think that they someday will be worth $1 billion. The rest of the schedule for April is up on venturestarters.com. If you want to see what's coming down the path, if you're a founder looking for a place to pitch, we have business to consumer, B2C night coming up. And if you're doing it to business, we have B2B night, business to business night coming up. So those are 2 opportunities. Yes, we have another life science event coming up. And there's all kinds of other themed events that'll be on the calendar the rest of the year. I want to now turn the microphone over to Aaron Doyle, who has been so amazing to volunteer to essentially turn the idea of having a speaker series into reality. And Erin is going to be here introducing herself and also introducing our speaker tonight, and she'll be coordinating the Q&A at the end of the event. I want to thank you all again. We're almost up to 100 people in the room, which is a perfect time for me to turn the event over to Erin. Thank you, Erin, for all your volunteerism on behalf of the entire community. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark, and welcome to tonight's Venture Starters speaking event. As our speaker, Brian Freed, shares his insights and expertise on the path from concept to market. We are thrilled that you're here, and we will have a live Q&A at the end of our session. Similar to our Venture Starters pitch nights, we will use the hand raise feature for all live questions, so be sure to raise your virtual or digital hand using the reaction feature on your screen. And if you're unable to, please feel free to use the chat feature to send a message with your questions. Ready to hear more? We even have 3 signed books that we will be giving to the first 3 people to ask questions of Brian tonight. So with that, I'm excited to introduce Brian Freed, known as the Inventor Coach. Brian is a highly accomplished innovator, author, and speaker, boasting 15 patents under his name. He's effectively licensed and manufactured his inventions, gaining recognition through QVC, infomercials, catalogs, and major retailers. For over 18 years, Brian has served as a guiding force for inventors, offering personalized coaching as an invention licensing agent in assisting in the commercialization of ideas such as yours. As a captivating speaker, Brian engages audiences with talks on innovation and invention, complemented by 3 authored books offering practical advice. And beyond speaking and writing, Brian is the visionary founder of the National Inventor Club, a community that fosters collaboration and networking opportunities for inventors worldwide, guiding them through the intricacies of the invention process and providing invaluable resources for success. In October of 2023, Brian unveiled his latest creation, the Inventor Smart Community app. This innovative social media and resource center, available for download on Google Play and the App Store through Apple, aims to create a vibrant community where inventors can connect, share ideas, and access valuable resources. Brian Freed's dedication to empowering inventors is evident in his tireless efforts to provide accessible platforms for collaboration and knowledge sharing, ensuring that inventors worldwide can thrive. I'll include a link to this information and more in the chat shortly. With that being said, I am absolutely thrilled to hand off the virtual mic as we give a warm Venture Starters welcome to Brian Freed. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you very much, Erin. Next time I won't give you so much to read. But thank you very much, everybody, for having me. This is an amazing crowd. Look at all these people. I see people eating, maybe it's dinner, maybe it's breakfast. I'm not sure. We're all entrepreneurs and working on different business ventures, ideas at all different times of the day. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge with you. and my experiences. And that's what it's all about. That's why we're here, is to really be able to help each other get our ideas, get our visions to the next level. So thank you very much, Erin. I appreciate that. So Mark, November, and Norma, November, one of my favorite months, as my birthday is in November. I don't know if you're a Scorpio, if you're just an inherited Scorpio for having that last name, Mark, and Norma.
Okay, so did you need screen share for, are you planning on doing that, Brian? I didn't
No,
check.
that's okay.
Okay,
We can chat. I do have a PowerPoint presentation, but
it's
I
up to
think,
you. I just
yeah,
made the screen share available, just so you know.
well, no problem. We'll have a nice chat, and we'll see how we can help everybody out. All right. So first off, just real quick, like Erin mentioned, I've been actively inventing for over 20 plus years. A lot of times I come up with ideas from things that just annoy me. And I'm sure that there's things that annoy you too, but there's a lot of people that just kind of, maybe it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda type of thing later on that you go, I thought about that, and I just kind of let it go. And then there's some people that actually stop and do something about their idea. So I'm wondering, with this crowd, how many people are working on a business venture or involved in a product venture? But we're going to touch on a little bit of each. Yes, I see you have your hand up, Vic. So everybody's probably covered with those kind of topics. Nice to meet you there, Karen. So one of the main things, which I think everybody shares, is the creativity. How do we come up with ideas? And sometimes people kind of say, you know what? Uh, I just want to spend some time and try to figure out how I'm going to come up with my next idea. I don't know. That seems like it's a force. I'm very into power versus force, and power is being aware and coming up with solutions along the way. And force is like, I have to come up with an idea. I got to do this. You ever realize like it just kind of comes naturally when you're thinking about something and it just pops into your head somehow or through some kind of experience or a process or whatever you're doing instead of trying so hard. So I kind of walk myself through the process almost every day. And you might do this too, to say, I wake up in the morning, I hear my alarm clock, I'm getting out of bed. How do I get out of bed? I go to the bathroom. I'm using things in the bathroom. I have toothbrushes and all my toiletries and the toilet and all these different things that are going on. I have my towel that's being hung up on a towel warmer, and there's so many things. And then you go downstairs into your kitchen and you're starting to make breakfast and doing all these different things, using kitchen gadgets and so many different types of experiences that you're doing. Then all of a sudden you're out the door. Maybe you're using public transportation. You have a car. Maybe you're driving your kids to the bus, right? And you're in the car. There's things going on between you and the kids and the road. And I'm just thinking about all the things that you go through on a daily basis. How many different things are going on? And while you're doing all these things, there's some people that go, stop. That's something that I think can maybe be done a little differently. I got myself into trouble back in as I was going through the stages in my life. I got married. I had my kid. My daughter's name is Alana. My wife's name is Lisa. And when we got married, I started to watch what my wife was doing in the kitchen. And I saw some of the things that she was doing. And I said, maybe there's some things that you might want to, you could do differently. So I started getting all crazy with like kitchen gadgets and housewares products. And when my daughter was born, I started to go through stages with her. And I would buy these toys and all these things that you need along the way. And there were things that I realized that could be done a little bit better. And sometimes I found things that weren't even invented at all. So I stopped in my tracks at some point where I said, I keep coming up with good ideas. And I just stop in my track. I start to jot them down. And then I go through the steps of figuring out if it's something that I should work on or not. So the businesses that you may have come up with, the product ideas that you might have come up with, you're doing things every day. The most important thing is to be aware. And what happens if you're not capturing that idea in an instant? Poof, it's gone, right? Disappears. Somebody honked the horn at you. Somebody called you. Somebody told you something else, and it just disappears. So these days, it's very easy to be able to capture your idea, whether you write it down, you could still write it on paper, you can email yourself, text yourself, whatever it is, capture that idea before it disappears. So as I've been going through my journey of invention, I've gotten a chance to speak to many other inventors over the years, and working with taking an idea and figuring out if it's something that you should work on or not, and if you should or you could, then how to go about taking it to the next levels through manufacturing, starting your own business as an entrepreneur, or licensing. Plenty of people have heard the term licensing to earn royalties. If you watch Shark Tank, you probably hear quite a bit about earning royalties from Mr. Wonderful, and some of the other sharks get involved too. But I will go through the journey of when you come up with an idea. Now, I can make this catered more towards product. I'm going to touch on some business, but really at some point or another, and whoever's on here, it really doesn't matter who you are. You can be a doctor, lawyer, unemployed, senior citizen, student, whatever you're doing, at some point or another, you're coming up with an idea, and you can take that idea and you can make it into a side hustle for some residual income, or you can take that idea and convert it into your full-time job, a career, and then build a brand out of it, and then have line extensions, and all of a sudden, poof, you're the next brand out there that has penetrated the market, potentially with some intellectual property. So I'm going to touch on that also. Just for the record, I'm not a patent attorney or agent. I'm pretty good with patent stuff. Also contract law. I have 15 issued patents. I have well over 100 trademarks, and I keep coming up with ideas. But most of the time these days, I'm helping other people with their ideas, so I have to get to some of my other ones. I was on QVC for about 3 years with some of my inventions. I'll show you some, right? You hear me talk? Why not take a look at some of my ideas? So I was in the kitchen, and there was a loaf of bread, and it was annoying to figure out how to take that twist tie off. I didn't bring a loaf of bread down here with me, but I was twisting the thing wrong way. The plastic tab, otherwise known as like that claw, you take it off, try putting that back on, right? So that kind of annoyed me. And what I did was I came up with this product called pull ties. What you do is you take let's start off with the bread. You take that bread bag, you pull it up, and it's sealed it tight. And as I was going through and figuring out the uses of these things, I said, you know what? What if it could be used on cereal bags, right? You crunch the bag of cereal in, and you open, and then all of a sudden you realize that it's stale. How about those freezer bags from BJ's or Costco, right? You open up the big French fries, and how do you close it? And you just kind of go through how to come up with ways to use these pull ties. So I sold millions of dollars of this product just from going like something like this. And this is a quick lesson. A lot of people come to me with an idea and it's for a specific niche. But if I said, I went on QVC and I said, yes, this is for bread, right? And some of you eat bread, some of you don't eat bread. But I said, what about in your freezer? What about in the pantry? Boom, 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 right? At the end of the day, I said, how many people have a kitchen? Winner, right? You know what I'm saying? So think about your idea. Think about your business ideas that you've come up with, and think about how to expand your window of opportunity. Sometimes people tell me, you know, Brian, I came up with this product for disabled people, or I came up with this product because senior citizen. But I said, you know what? That's a good niche, but how can you make it so you can maybe find a bigger market, right? Because if you're coming up with a baby product that's from 0 to 6 months old, what happens next? I know there's always that turn, but what if you expanded it more? And that's what you need to do with your ideas. And this is one lesson that I teach many entrepreneurs out there, is that you might have thought about your niche for something, or your product idea or business idea for something, but what you thought about that it came up with, let's say that you said it was for that niche, maybe that's fourth or fifth on the list. Maybe you should think about what should be first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay. I don't know what kind of order I said there, but you get my point. Finding the things that are going to make you the most money, finding your biggest audiences, opening up that window of opportunity for you to be able to make as much as you can. And yes, number 4, 5, and 6 are great. I'm not saying that they're not, but concentrate on what's going to make you the most money, what the biggest window of opportunity is. Make sense? And this could be for anything that you do. You just have to stop and think about it and prioritize who it is that you're going after. Okay, so just going through this journey, we came up with our idea, right? We were creative somewhere along the way during the day, traveling, whatever it is, poof, we came up with that idea and we stopped and we captured it. And now what? So many times I speak to people and they tell me they have this great idea and they are so excited about it. They are so excited. And I love that. But we have to think about our emotions and thinking about, from a business perspective, is this something that's going to make me money? So what we do is we go down the aisles of Walmart or we go online and we search through the first page of Google and we go, wow, nobody in the world has this idea. I went to Walmart and I'm going to be a gazillionaire. Well, that's great. However, there's a little bit more to it than just going down the aisle of Walmart or searching on the first page of Google. So what I like to do is just do a generic search. So I came up with an idea and I'm going to just put in a basic search term of what my idea might be described as. And instead of going through a million search pages, I just click on images. I'm a visual person. You probably are too. So I go through the pages and I see from the visuals, is there something that kind of looks like my idea? Well, if it does, then I'm going to stop and I'm going to jot it down. I'm going to copy paste the URL and I'm going to keep going. Okay. I'm going to keep finding different things. And you know what? You got to search with your eyes open. How many of you, just like I said, you're going down the aisle of Walmart or searching on the first page of Google. There's so many people that cover their eyes while they're searching because they don't want to find it. But isn't it better to find it now than to figure out later on that it exists when you're at stage 4, 5, or 6? And this goes for any business. It doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm talking about a product or I'm talking about a service business. What's going to make you different than what's out there? Is there something that's similar to what you have? And is yours a big enough difference? What's going to make you that unicorn that's out there, that I think you're having some kind of event that's going to make you different than everybody else out there? So I'm going to go through that journey and capture what I find. And then I'm going to go to a patent attorney or agent and I'm going to compare what I found to what's already out there. And I'm going to see if my idea is something that can be patentable or not. Now, people have different says of if IP, intellectual property, if a patent, any of those things are good. But for me, I have 15 issued patents. If I have a chance to get intellectual property protection, I'm going to try to get it. And I have. I think I've gotten more rejections than I have patents, but I got 15 so far. So as I'm going through the journey of navigating if my idea is patentable or not, let's just talk about this because it's kind of interesting. You don't know what direction you're going to be in life, and you may come up with something. You might be working on a business. That's fine. But maybe you're working on a product idea. Okay. So what I do is once I get that patent search back with a patentability opinion, now I'm going to find out if this is something that I can call my own. So you may have heard of a provisional patent application. That gives you the right for 1 year to say that you're patent pending while you're exploring the market. Before that year is done, you can convert it into a non-provisional patent application, otherwise known as a utility patent. Utility is like the way it works and functions. Like I showed you this kind of pull tie, right? I also have this product, which is a utility patent. Anybody take a guess what this is? Well, I came home one night and there was no room left in my fridge. And I had these leftovers and I didn't know where to put them. I saw a carton of eggs in my fridge and there was only 2 eggs left in there. And I said, all that space for 2 eggs? So what did I do as Mr. Inventor, I guess? I came up with a collapsible egg tray. You put your eggs in, and as you take your eggs out, it goes back until it's hard to do in the air, but you have this much space for 2 eggs left. Okay, and it fits small to jumbo eggs, called extra space. Okay, so that's a utility patent. Then there's something, here's just one more. So I came up with these. You might have these in your house. So I took the tongs, and you know how that has that lock on top, right? You pull it up and it locks. Well, what I did instead was I put grooves in it. So now, oh, thank you there, Harry. So now when you let's say, for example, you're going to buy a set of tongs, a pair of tongs, instead of buying, you have 2 options. You have the ones with adjustable or without, and they're the same price. Which ones are you going to pick? Right? So these tongs have been really good sellers because people like the adjustment on it as an extra option. I'll just show you another one. So I really, back in the day, even before COVID, I don't like to talk about that, but I kind of am a little bit of germaphobe, or I think, I don't know, maybe that might be extreme, but I don't know who would like when you're going to a party and people are scooping their hand in the pretzels or potato chips. I don't think you have to be a germaphobe for that. You really don't want other people's hands in there. So what I thought would look cool was to have like a scooping type of thing where you could scoop your snacks and eat from it. And I showed this to a couple of manufacturers, and we ended up putting Elmo, Cookie Monster, all the Ninja Turtles, right? All these different characters on here. And I licensed it. So what happens is when they license my design patent, because this is a design, and then so the company that I worked with, they, every time one of them sells, they pay me, and they paid Sesame Street. So that's product. This is brand property licensing. So they took the rights for Elmo and Cookie Monster, but they also have to pay me as the inventor of this design. So this is called the Snackospheres back in the day. Now we have dogs and cats and sports, I think we're coming out with. So this thing keeps going. Anyway, so that's my Snackospheres. I have other ones, but I just kind of go through. I'll show you one more design. So this one happened to be during COVID. You know, I didn't make this dirty for the whole, you know, kind of shtick here, but I realized that many people, when you're using a paper towel roll, your hands are wet or dirty, and you're putting it on top of the roll to pull the sheet off, right? I'm trying to do this in the air. So I started to ask my friends and family, can you show me the top of your paper towel roll? They're like, oh my gosh, Brian, what are you showing me? What are you doing again? What are you up to? So I said, just take the picture, show it to me. Oh my gosh, it was disgusting. If you look at your paper towel roll right now at the top, you probably see orange juice, chocolate. I don't know. I don't want to get gross here because I don't want to get nauseous. But anyway, what I did was I came up with this really simple device that goes into the inner tube of any paper towel roll. And now when your hands are wet or dirty, you put it on top, you pull the sheet off, and now it stays clean and dry. And it also keeps the paper towel roll tight to your roll. That's what I heard. So thank you very much there, Karen. So these products are active on Amazon and on my website, papertoweltopper.com. So that just to show you a couple of variations while I'm getting a chance to show my creations here of what design patents and utilities. So let's just get back to the search, and I'm going to kind of zip through all this pretty quick so we can do some Q&A. I'm going to just walk you through the steps. So I do that patent search. If there's a product or idea, a patent that comes back, and it's over 20 years old for a utility patent, or 15 years for a design patent, it's in the public domain. So if I try to manufacture it, I could. It's in the public domain, so you and your next door neighbor can make it too. So do I want to compete against you? I like to have intellectual property protection of a patent, possibly. So maybe it's free and clear. I could keep moving forward. Or did something come up where if I continue, then I'm going to be infringing on somebody else's intellectual property, right? If it's something that, let's go later on, if it's something that I'm going to license to earn royalties, a company who has manufacturing capabilities and distribution, if I try to show my idea to them and it's something that's in the public domain, what do they need me for? They could just do it themselves, right? So these are the things that I kind of learn about the person, I learn about the product or the business idea, and I help to kind of navigate them through the journey. But I could tell you a lot of times, I help people to realize that they should stop and work on their next idea. And you might have this situation too with your business. How much do you want to keep working on something and hitting a brick wall? Maybe there's something that you could just step back and look to the side and see an opening. And that's where you should go. Or you should just stop. And the way that you came up with that idea or that product or business that you're thinking about, if it's not working, then take a good look and a hard look and say, you know what? I've come up with this idea. I'll come up with another one. Okay. And you always try to do things on your own to start with. That's just my opinion. Everybody, like I love this crowd. Many people come to me and say, Brian, I need $1.2 million. I'm like, okay. So now if you had 200,000 units of this invention in your garage, what are you going to do with it? Right? There's a lot of factories out there that are willing to start off small. I'll just give you a quick example. There was an inventor that came to me and she wanted to license her idea. And licensing, let me just give you a quick run. So let's say I came up with an idea and it could be a business, it could be, but let's talk product. So I come up with this idea and I'm a busy guy. I do all these things, I don't know what to really do with manufacturing and all that. So I go to a company that has manufacturing capability and distribution. So if you walk down that aisle at Walmart and you see a set of tongs, you go, oh, maybe there's a company that does tongs, but mine is unique. So I'm going to see if they want to add my product to their product line, manufacture it, distribute it, and I can earn a royalty from it, right? So I'm going through that and figuring out, is this something that I can license to earn royalties? And if I don't have any intellectual property, then they don't really need me. What's going to give them a competitive advantage in the market? So these are the things that I think about. Or am I going to be a manufacturer and I'm going to go through the logistics of warehousing, packaging, shipping, barcoding, product liability insurance. There's all these different things along the way that you need to come up with. So let's just go back a little bit in between figuring out if that's an idea that you can work on or not. And now going to the point of maybe how do I make a prototype? Well, you could do what I did. I got in trouble for it a little bit later on in life, but my daughter, she's 22 now. So when she was little, I used to come up with a lot of toy inventions. And I used to buy toys and rip them apart very politely. Sorry, Karen, I see that. But I rip things apart and I take them to pieces and I kind of put things together. And I start to realize that maybe I can make a prototype out of just some things that already exist, and it worked. I had an inventor that worked with me that made their prototype out of cardboard. I just wanted to go back to perception for a second. I forgot about the lady I was telling you about. So she wanted to license her ideas to earn license her idea to earn royalties. And her perception of how much it was going to cost was a little bit off. We tried to license it, didn't do it. So I said, why don't you manufacture it? And she goes, well, I don't have the money to do that. I said, well, how much is it? She goes, I don't know, 25 grand. And how much per unit you think? $3, $4 per unit. Okay. Well, let's get some quotes. So we got some quotes and we found out that the mold was $600 to make. It was a silicone item. $600 to make the mold, 80 cents per unit. The minimum was 3,000 units. So what does that come out to? $2,400 plus 600. Oh my goodness, $3,000. A little bit of shipping and a couple other things to add. And now look, 3,000 units sold, 3,000 units sold, 5,000, 5,000. Did she need $1.2 million? No. So perception sometimes is, like, I know we want to think big and I respect and I appreciate that. And I look at business plans sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, these numbers just start off, work with a factory. Maybe you'll pay a little bit more, but you'll be able to gauge and expect and see what kind of opportunity and how you're getting accepted in the market. There's also other inventors that come to me and they come up with an idea and it's kind of similar to what exists. So that's okay. Maybe you're not able to patent it, but you can take that idea and you can buy what's already existing and put your own private label, put your own brand name on it, add a couple more products to it. Now you built a brand. You might see the same things on Amazon 7, 8, 9 times because everybody's buying the same thing. And depending on their relationship with a factory or how many they're purchasing, they might have a better price than you, or they might want to make more margin. But there's a lot of people doing that type of stuff. But you can kind of get a gauge of the market and what you're getting yourself into by ordering some small samples, some small runs, and being able to manufacture it under your own product. If it's starting to sell well or you feel comfortable, then start to make some modifications to it. I'm working with an inventor that is an Uber driver. He's doing extremely well. And he came up with a kind of a caddy for drivers. And we found one that's similar. Then he started to modify it a little bit with the factory, and now he's in production with his own product. And we're going to find other brand extensions so he can, when he sees when one of the Uber drivers come onto his website and see that one, he's going to have multiple products that he can add to his product line. If they don't buy his, then they'll buy other things that maybe are common that they can, or maybe they'll buy all of them. So these are the things that I kind of think about and go through with inventors and kind of curb that expectation and perception of what things are kind of looking like from a bigger picture until you start to kind of hone into like these ways to be able to bootstrap, work on a shoestring budget, whatever you want to call it. I've been there, you know, so you get to different stages and every product and person is on a different path. And that's something you have to think about. And maybe it's something that you're thinking about one way, and you can ask somebody that you respect in business. I am very active with giving people advice, and I just tell people like it is. I'm not here to pat you on the back and make you feel good. I tell you like it is, and sometimes you need that. And inventor to inventor, I could talk like that, or business person to business person, you could talk like that. So let's just go through real quick. We did our patent. We came up with the idea. We did a patent search. I gave you an idea of what it's like to kind of make prototypes. So maybe it's not the ripping thing. I was saying I got in trouble because all those toys that I ripped apart at some point, I had them in a closet and my daughter opened it and she realized where all her toys were ripped apart. Anyway, I'm not going to go there right now. She might be watching. Probably not. Anyway, so if it's not something that you're putting together from things that exist, then you might have heard of CAD, computer aided design. You can make a cut and sew if it's fabric. You can do work at a wood shop or a metal die cutter and all these different things. You can find all different ways to be able to make a prototype these days. When I started, oh my gosh, I just turned 50, but now I'm definitely feeling old. When I first started, it was so hard to find somebody with a 3D printer. Now everybody has one. You could buy one and put it in your house as instead of your inkjet printer, you have a 3D printer and you can print anything that you want, you know? So it's kind of fun to play and think about things and just kind of see if it's something that is selfishly for you, or can it be something bigger that could be for other people out there? And that's the way that you have to think. Is this something that is going to be for a niche market? You know, there's I kind of like to say this, like people come to me sometimes, and just to give you an example, like, Brian, I came up with this amazing golf ball. Everybody in the world is going to want to use my golf ball. And they're telling me about their vision of being at the golf course. And when they look around, you're right. Everybody on the golf course plays golf, mostly, right? But when you step out of the golf course and you go to dinner, you go to the movies, you go shopping, and you ask people, do you play golf? Do you play golf? Not everybody plays golf. So we have to put things into perspective and think about that window of opportunity. And you can take those ideas and you can make a prototype out of things and test it and see what kind of validation you get. And if it's something that's not protected, then have people sign a non-disclosure agreement. I have one that you can download on my website. It's from an old government agency that you can use and fill it out. But you're just putting people on notice that you're not going to have anybody talk about your idea without your permission. And that's something that you should consider. So let's just go through. I went through some patent stuff. Trademarks are good. I'll give you a quick example of that. So you've all heard of the Snuggie, right? A long time ago, a blanket with sleeves was created, but then you had a marketing company on TV that said, wow, let's come up with a really cute name. Let's come up with the Snuggie, right? And then right after that, you heard about the Slanket and all these other versions because anybody can make it. The patent most likely was expired, so it was in the public domain. Anybody can make it. So you can come up with a good trademarkable name and you can build an asset that way where people recognize that name and now you can continue. So when you're working with trademarks, trademarks are for a certain class of goods that you're using the name. You ever see that TM, right? You see a TM next to things. So that's putting people on notice that you're using that as a trademark in that certain class of goods. And then if you decide to register it, you send it to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office Trademark Division, and you're showing that you're using it in that class of goods, and that TM turns into an R with the circle. That's a registered trademark. I'm just touching on little things here that hopefully can help you in your business or when you come up with an invention at some point to be able to know how to build up an asset, whether it's for your business or product idea. So just kind of going through now, I'm at that point where I'm at that fork in the road. Who am I? Who are you? Are you somebody that has the time to run a business, to work on product development and work with engineers and prototypers and all that type of stuff? Well, you should get to a certain point before you just say, I want to just give you my idea and you do everything. Well, do a little bit of work. Again, you could do things on a shoestring budget. You do a patent search, and I think that's really important to do a patent search because I do speak to people that are at step 4 and 5, like I mentioned earlier, and they spend money, and then all of a sudden I do a quick search with them, and all of a sudden it's boop, boop, boop. I find it, and I'm like, is that your idea? Oh my gosh, I've been working on this for 4 or 5. I know, because you search with your eyes closed, or you didn't stay in the market being in that industry that you planned on doing your invention in. You might want to stay current and relevant and be active and go to trade shows as a guest and walk around and see what's going on. Act as if you're in that business already, in that industry. So these are the things that I think about along the way. And again, it's not for everybody. That's why there's something where you can get into licensing to earn royalties. So some people don't want to get into that space of manufacturing and distributing. So for me, licensing has been extremely great at some points. And sometimes I give it to a company and they bring it to a buyer and the buyer doesn't buy it. So I terminate the agreement. We terminate the agreement because it doesn't make sense if they're not going to distribute, right? They don't have any distribution. So at that point, I might say, you know what? Maybe I'll just do it myself. I'll manufacture it myself. These days, you don't have to be in a major retail store to be successful, right? You can put it on Amazon.com. You could put it on Etsy or eBay.com, Walmart.com, Lowe's.com. It's not that difficult to be able to get your product out in the market. So, but the challenge is, just like I showed you my collapsible egg tray, who the heck is going on Amazon looking for a collapsible egg tray? So I got to work really hard. When you're shopping for an egg tray, I need to figure out how to, you may want to consider a collapsible egg tray. So I have to pay to get you to buy my collapsible egg tray. Not that easy. Okay. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't, but there's a formula to things and you keep trying. And this is for anything in life, because I've been involved in many marketing initiatives and businesses. And this is a kind of lesson that I've learned all the way through, is that, you know what? You work on things and you try things out, right? We're all entrepreneurs here, inventor, all activity. You try things, you see what works. If it works, keep pressing it. If it doesn't work, take it out. leave more room for things that could work, and keep testing and testing. And all of a sudden, you got a machine going of 3, 4, 5 things, even if it's 2, 3 things that work. Boom. Now you keep going. And that's what you got to do. You got to keep on testing, A/B testing, whatever you want to call it, but test, make it happen, and keep moving forward. And these are the type of things that I think about, whether it's a product idea, a business idea. Keep on rinse and repeat. Exactly, Barney. That's the way to do it. And I think that's a great lesson for everybody to learn out there. I can keep going, but I love Q&A. I don't know how long we have, Erin. I think, are we up to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock? I'm in East Coast. So how are we looking?
We are looking good on time. We have about 14 minutes until the official end of our event.
Okay.
So if you can stay on for a few minutes after that even, we do have quite a few questions that have been coming through chat and also those with hand raise.
What do you think, everybody? I kind of just put you on a quick path to invention, but I promised that I would give away 3 of these books. Look at this guy. It looks familiar. But I will sign them. Erin requested that I sign them. I also like to put a little note in there. So I guess it's your choice for the top 3 questions that come in. But just a lot of lessons learned. I could say that for us as inventors, entrepreneurs, startups, venture people that are whoever you are that's on here, we are so excited when we come up with an idea, and our emotions take over, and we're so excited. And no matter what people say, you just like, can you help me? Oh yes, I can help. So be cautious about working off of your emotions when you're making these type of decisions, even moving forward, working with people, finding the right partners, and think about from the business perspective. Is this person that I'm going to work with somebody that can help me? Am I asking for references? I know you're excited, but when you do construction on a house, they're going to tell you how amazing and how beautiful your house is going to be, all these different ideas. But how do you know if they even built something like that before? You're excited. They told you how amazing your house is going to be. Your product, it's amazing what you're thinking. But stop and make better business decisions. And that's what I find a lot. Due diligence, trust but verify. Absolutely, Barney, again. Good thoughts here. You got to do that. We all have to stop and make better business decisions and know who to work with, know who to trust. We have instinct, we have emotion. You have to put all these things together to keep yourself moving forward with your big ideas, whether it's a product, a business. Ask better questions, that's for sure, and get results, and just keep moving forward with them. So what else? We good? I can keep going with all this, but I love to answer questions. So what do you think, Erin?
With that, why don't we throw out a few questions your way? We have had a really active community. And the first one came from Mark Goddard with a hand raise.
I think he's had his hand raised since I started talking. But you know what?
He has since early on in the conversation.
I am front and center here in the spotlight. I don't know how much more I can look at myself.
So Mark, if you
okay.
are still available, please feel free to turn on your camera and unmute. We would love to hear your question.
And he's got a book.
Okay, while we're waiting for Mark, let's go to our second. We had Bruce Bedeau, and his question was, he was curious about COGS and margins, especially with QVC. Brian, can you share more? And Bruce, if you have more to add to that question, feel free to lower your hand and unmute.
Thank you. Well, I was on QVC, as I mentioned earlier, for about 3 years, and I have to say that QVC changed my life. I happened to be at a major trade show, and I ended up walking into a buyer and started a conversation, and she was very kind, and she said, Brian, after the show, why don't you come to my office? I'm in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm like, I'll be there. So I showed her a couple products, and I'm like, here, look, I got this. And she's like, and I'm like, oh, and I have this. She's like, I want that. So it's really interesting the way that QVC works. things have changed a little bit the way they work now, but there are ways that business can be done. You can make a product for $6 and they might sell it for $12.97 or $20, and it might be $47.98 or whatever it is. So you work with the buyer to figure out what is different. Why is or what is the product offering that's different than any place that you could buy this, that you can make. So you might want to bundle it. Anyway, you end up figuring out how much something cost you, what you could charge wholesale, what QVC would buy it for. That's the wholesale price. And then what they're going to sell at retail is up to them. But obviously you want them to have a good price based on what it is, so you could sell as many as you can. So it's really relative to what the product is and the category. But yeah, that's how it works. And
So
you
Brian, doesn't
Yep.
doesn't QVC set the price? I mean, if I have a
Yes.
$10 and I think I ought to get $100, they're going to say, that's a $29 price, and we're going to buy it for $12.50, and we're going to take the rest.
Well, it's got to work for you, Bruce. You're the owner of your inventory. So you have to have the margins. Can I tell you, Bruce, there's so many times where people come to me and they're like, Brian, my product costs $2 to make and I'm going to sell it for $3. Tough. That is really, really tough. If you're putting 2 in, you want to at least get 2 out net, right? If you're putting all that risk. So yes, QVC can set the cost of what the price is, but that's based on the wholesale price that you're selling it to. If you can't agree, and that's happened several times to me, is that you don't agree with the price, then there's no deal. Or if you can figure out that you're going to be able to make it for less to be able to accommodate what QVC needs to make it for. That's the thing, Bruce. When you're coming up with something, I have an invention right now that I'm working on, and I am asking people what you would pay for it. And then I have to work backwards to figure out how much it costs and what the wholesale price is and what my margins are to figure out if I'm going to make money with it or not.
Well, usually there's a suggested retail price, and then there's what they're going to do is they're going to say, I'm going to buy it for a 45% discount off the retail, and I'm going to discount it 10 or 15% if I'm Costco. If they go through a secondary distribution, those guys are going to ask for a 30% discount. And finally, we had a thing called Jack the Gripper poster hanger, and we had about $1 in the bag, and we were told that if we didn't get $6 going through 2 distribution layers, that we weren't going to make any money.
There's all types of variables, Bruce. At the same time, you can have like a QVC, or if you go to Costco, most of the time you can't buy offline something that's in Costco because they come up with their own offering, right? They come up with their own maybe it's a different color that they have their say, and maybe it's something that's bundled together. That's QVC, quality, value, and commitment, right? So there's things along the way that they can make a unique proposition, or now you're starting to do the chopping in the price. But again, if you don't have the margins, then it's not viable to work on it. Maybe you need to get your costs down. Maybe you have too much plastic. Maybe there's too many parts and pieces that's costing you money. There's a lot of variables to figure out if it's something that's going to have that margin to be able to make it so you're going to be in business for longer than, there's so many things also, Bruce, like people show me like all this like crazy sales on Amazon, for example, and their advertising is more than what they're making. So you feel good that you're making all these sales, but how much are you paying to acquire a customer? So there's a lot of variables, Bruce. You're absolutely right. It's got to work and make sense for you and the retailer. Otherwise, you have to move on. There's things that I've been involved with that the margins just aren't there because an inventor, for example, is not doing a gazillion units at manufacturing. So they're going to probably have a higher price. So if you want to get into a major retailer, you got to be prepared to get those big prices to know a better cost on the manufacturing, to know that if you did get a big order like a Home Depot or Walmart or whatever, that you're going to be able to accommodate those prices and be prepared.
Yeah, I'm losing $1, but I'll make up for it in volume. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruce. Awesome. Who's
Another
next?
question in from Hari Atkuri. Quick question, Brian. Curious, how many of your patents are real products that we can go buy in the market? I would love to try them. Tell us more.
Well, you saw, I think, 4 or 5 of them. I have
Yeah.
other patents that I've had as seen on TV products. Some are available and some aren't. You can go to my website, brianfreed.com, and there's a couple of my inventions on there. It's under my inventions, I think. We just kind of modified the website, but yeah, I mean, and I have a bunch more that I'm working on. Sometimes, Harry, products are cyclical, right? You can have a good run and then it takes a break and then you kind of pivot, and just like we were talking about earlier, right? You're working on things, you hit a brick wall, you step back and look to see other opportunities. So I do have products that have come in and out of the market. Some are consistent and some I've kind of put on the shelf, and that's okay too, right? You got to be realistic. Maybe I'll come back to it another time. It's funny because sometimes I'll go to a potential licensee and I'll show them a product. Let's say I go to a trade show. I was just at the Inspired Home Show a couple days ago. So I'll go to a company and I'll say, hey, you want my this and that? And they go, no, thanks. And then I'll come back to them a year later and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I show them again. I want that. Well, I showed that to you last year. You no. So it's got to be relevant. Remember, what if you're going through licensing to earn royalties, remember, and what I do is I think about who that potential licensee is. These are the brands that are in the retail stores, for example. When I show them something, I know that they're thinking about the buyer and the consumer. So if I know that I'm thinking about the consumer and I'm going to the buyer and then I'm going to the licensee, I'm already thinking ahead. That's why I do good deals, because I understand all the things from the back coming to the forward of where I am. And that's what you need to do also. So yeah, things are out there, things are on the shelf, there's more to come, and I keep moving, keep working on my ideas. But again, I'm working on many other people's ideas these days. I try to get some time for mine. I'm excited about one that hopefully I'll get this direct response as seen on TV type of deal that I just sent them a little demo video and I showed them at a trade show last week. So I'll keep you posted. Keep in
Please do.
touch.
Yes, please do keep us posted on that. And with that, in terms of thinking ahead from what you were just mentioning, Don Samoil was asking if there is any sort of Brian Freed combo pack, maybe some sort of discount code that the participants and attendees might be able to use from tonight's session.
Well, thank you very much. So for me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you haven't already connected with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Brian Freed, linkedin.com/in/Brian Freed. And a lot of times people spell my first name Brain. And if you say my last name the way it's spelled, then I'm brain fried. So make sure you spell my first name right. Thanks a lot. I see people laughing on my account. Thank you. But Brian Freed. So if you stay connected there, I do offer a 10-minute call, and it discusses how I can help you. I'm not looking to really start to give you my opinion and feedback advice on that call. It's really tell me where you are and I can discuss how I can help you. I am very excited about my Inventor Smart community app. So if you wanted to get involved there, there's a lot of people networking, collaborating, people with big ideas for businesses and product. So we're on there. If you're a premium insider for $9.99 a month or $99 for a year, there are a lot of things that we do together. We go on trips. We have different events that are private. We just did a book club event the other day, and we did a Q&A. So we have a little bit more one-on-one, but I also offer, if you did want to have a one-on-one session with me, you can read my books, you can do watch videos, you can do all these things. But if you did want to meet one-on-one, I do offer that. And you can schedule an hour session with me. You can schedule something to meet me in person if you're local. I've been flown around the country. If you wanted to have me meet you in person, I get asked to pitch buyers. I get asked to be on phone calls. I get asked to negotiate deals. I ask the most biggest question is, Brian, I need a half hour or an hour of your time. So they pay me a small retainer and I tell them like it is. What do you think about my idea? I will tell you. And it's not that I have every answer, but from my experience, feedback, advice, and all these things that I've done, listening and watching other people and experts, and just all around just in the process, I think I can do a pretty good job being intuitive and and kind of thinking about what can happen to that idea. I learn about you, I learn about the idea, and then I help you to figure out if you should work on it or not. And if yes, then how to get to where you need to go. And if not, you wait for your next idea. So that's what you get from me. So yes, discounts, be part of the Inventor Smart Community app on Google and Apple Play Store. And I hope, you know, there's other ways to get hooked up. But yes, there's the discounts and all that. I love to speak with you. I'm open to it. I have a calendar that I go by, and just do whatever I can to help as many people as I can out. That's what I love to do. I feel like this is what I'm meant to do, is just, I've had these experiences and I like to share them with you. And I feel like it's really important for people to get the right information. I feel like I deliver that. I work very closely with the US Patent and Trademark Office. I work with other government agencies, and I speak on innovation and invention to make sure that people get the right information. Just on Thursday, I was with the Commissioner of Patents in New York City. She came into town and they asked me to do a fireside chat with her. So thank you very much, Barney. I know what that means. Thank you.
We do have a few more questions. So also from Barney, I'm a huge fan of product innovation. Can you speak to the actual cost of patenting? Not just filing for a provisional. A patent is only worth it if you can afford to defend it. Making it easy, selling is hard. Also speaking to the realities of NDAs and non-compete. Can you share a little bit more insight with regards to that, Brian?
Sure. Well, I mentioned how important doing a patent search is. So to start with, when you come up with an idea, it doesn't cost you anything to do that search online and click on the images of the searches and do a Google, do Yahoo, do Bing, do different things and be realistic of what you find. So how much does that cost you? Zero, right? Zero. Find things that are similar, capture those things, give it to a patent attorney or agent to compare what you have to what's existing. How much could that cost you? If you're a member of the Inventor Smart community, you get special discounts if you're asking for a discount earlier. But patent searches can cost anywhere, with a patentability opinion, can cost anywhere from $250 to $1,500 or more, depending on who you ask. Remember, we talked about the emotional side. So you're entitled to compare pricing and quotes and what people can do. Just because you gave somebody, talked about your idea to somebody, doesn't mean that you're obligated to them. So that a patent search, then you might want to make a CAD file. So depending on how complicated it is, if it has twists and turns and gears, maybe it'll cost more than coming up with a little, you know, gadgety thing or something that's just ornamental that you might protect. So making a product, doing CAD file could cost anywhere from $200 to $10,000, including a prototype, a works like prototype. Or maybe it's something that you ripped the guts apart and you didn't need to do any of that stuff. And now you have something that you put together to get something. So those can vary. You mentioned provisional patent applications. So when you're working with a patent attorney or agent, how much are they actually doing of the patent, right? Are they flipping it later on? Are they just making it broad to start with? So that could cost you anywhere from $700 to filing a non-provisional patent application. Maybe it's $5,000, $10,000. You're talking about marketing. Yeah, make a good homemade video if you're looking to license it to earn royalties. If you're looking to manufacture, you probably want to work better on the design and get pre-production samples. So I guess it's all relative to what idea, what the product is and how complicated it is. And then what was the other part of the question, Erin?
The other part of that question was, could you speak a little bit to the realities of NDAs and non-compete clauses
Sure.
protecting from backdoors, right? Give us a little more insight in that space.
Look, we always want to do our due diligence and do the best that we can to protect ourselves. But if we don't share our idea with people, then we're going to have that woulda, coulda, shoulda moment at some point. So we need to do the best we can to protect ourselves. And if you're not provisional patent application where you're patent pending, you didn't file that, and you're not patent pending, then you should ask for what's called a non-disclosure agreement. And I mentioned earlier, that's going to put people on notice that you give them that you're not going to talk about my idea without my permission. So with me, like if you were going to talk to me and you didn't have IP protection, intellectual property of a patent, I would send you a digital non-disclosure agreement that we would both sign, and we both get a copy of it executed, and I'm on notice. And I like to talk general when I first start with people, but if you want to get deeper into the woods with it, you ask me to sign an NDA. And I think somebody mentioned earlier on one of the comments, like a lot of people don't want to sign an NDA. Well, then try to get some before I go to a trade show. And if I'm working on an invention, I like to file at least a provisional patent application. It's inexpensive. And then I could say I'm patent pending. And sometimes being patent pending is better than having an issued patent, because when you have an issued patent, you're in the public, in the database, that people see what you filed and what you're protected on. So patent pending could be stronger sometimes too. So hopefully I answered those questions.
Fantastic. And from Tani, she says, great discussion. Congratulations on all the novel ideas. Considering the inventions that have become commercial products, what percentage did you manufacture and sell yourself versus licensing to a key player in the industry? And second part, what pushes that decision to manufacturing yourself?
I love that question, Erin. Who is that?
That was from Tani Marayama.
She should talk to my wife, because my wife isn't happy right now. I have inventory in my garage. Don't tell anyone. So I would say that I'm at like 50-50 of licensing and manufacturing, and they shift. Sometimes I manufacture and sometimes I license. You know, it like I could be manufacturing and it does really well, and somebody says, hey, you know, I would like to license that product from you, or I show it and say, look at all my sales. And that could be something that could end up converting to be a licensing deal. Can you just add the beginning of that question again?
Absolutely. The beginning of it was, considering the inventions that have become commercial products, what percentage did you manufacture and sell yourself versus licensing to a key player in the industry?
That's what I wanted to say. So I answered the first part. I love that she said key player in the industry. I can't tell you how many times I look at people that are like, oh my gosh, I got a licensing deal or an interested company. And I start asking questions about their distribution, and they really don't have that much. So are you going to be happy with, so let me just give you an example. So I had this inventor that came up with this toy, and he said, Brian, I did what you told me. I have 2 deals on the table, one for 5% and one for 10%. And he goes, am I stupid not to take the 10%? I'm like, well, tell me the companies. He told me. And the one that had 10% sold to mom and pop retail stores, you know, independent type of stores. And the one that was 5% sold in all the major retailers. So I could give you 100% to zero too, right? So I like to go for the A players in the industry. Those are the ones that I want to be able to partner with, because I know that they're going to do some mass volume and make it so it's worth their while and my while. If you're going to work with a company and they're not really going to have that much distribution, then what's going to be you know, is $100-200 per quarter royalty checks going to change your life? Is it worth it? Or maybe you just take a chance and do it yourself, or maybe not. Maybe you're just somebody that is just working on an idea just to be able to have a patent on the wall, right? Whatever it is, you have different reasons for commercializing. And you know what? There's no greater feeling like when I go down the aisle of Walmart and I saw my Elmo and Cookie Monsters hanging up there, and watching a kid take it and the mom says no. I'm like, I'll buy that for you. I earned a royalty when I bought it for myself. Don't tell anyone. But there's no greater feeling working on an idea, whether it's a business or an invention, and people using it for the same reason you came up with it. How awesome is that? You might be experiencing that now. People doing your business, you know, working within your service business. Or you invented something. Bruce, you mentioned you invented something, or you're selling something. Like, just people buying things for what you did, or you know, using your services for what you came up with. Like, that's the best feeling.
And that sounds like such an awesome feeling. I can't even imagine. I was looking at your website at some of the pictures and you grabbing Elmo and just smiling
Yeah,
with that.
it's awesome.
It gave us that moment of saying, my gosh, we've got to go look for that too, because we know the man that invented that. And having an entire community here that is bringing ideas and organizations to the table. We appreciate your guidance. A few more questions. Do you have a few more minutes for us, Brian?
Absolutely. You know,
So another one.
there's people, I'm sorry, Aaron.
Nope, go ahead, please.
There's people that might be listening to this call that are investors or people that work with new products or new businesses. And you know, the hardest thing for us as inventors and people with new ideas, like, you know, we have to kind of prove that we're selling. For the most part, there's people that venture and say, you know what, I'll take a little bit more up front, but you know, I'm taking a risk. We don't even know if anybody's going to buy the product, you know? So I try to tell people, look, investors are awesome. At a certain point, you always, and I had a crowdfunding um, company on the other night for my National Inventor Club meeting, Start Engine. They're like really upper crowdfunding, but there's plenty of ways to bootstrap, get some money, perception of not needing as much. I gave you some examples of that during this presentation, that you can be able to just do as much as you can from the start and see how much you could do on your own. And, you know, sometimes inventors come to me, or people that want to start businesses, and they're limited on funds. They're like, I don't have money. Well, save up and wait till you do to get to that step 1, step 2, step 3. It might take you a little longer, but you'll do it. You know what I mean? But you got to have something to be able to show. Some people require sales. So shout out to all the venture capital people out there. We love you. We need you. And hopefully you give us an opportunity.
So with that, another question in from Fatima. And Fatima asks, can we patent a business model? What are
Well,
your insights on that?
Well, I'm not a patent attorney or agent, but I could tell you that one business that really intrigued me was Priceline. Priceline was a business, and it was patented, right? The way that you bid on the way that you bid on travel. So there are certain aspects of the way that businesses can be protected. Um, there are processes that could be protected. There are trademarks that you can file to build up assets. There are copyrights that you can protect, whether it's your website or the way that your different workflows or instructions or books or whatever. There's different ways to build up intellectual property. So it's tough for me to just kind of give an answer that way. My inventions, my patents are more on product, but I have seen different processes, kits that have been protected. Speak to a patent attorney or agent. I got plenty that I can refer to you. So be a part of Inventor Smart community, and you'll find some too.
And from Paul Leak, which country outside of the US do you think has the most cost-efficient manufacturing? And any good sources that you know to locate manufacturers, such as trade associations, et cetera, that you'd recommend?
Great question. In the US, if you wanted to find a manufacturer here, which it's always good to try to work in the US, and I always do. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I have US manufacturers, but sometimes it's like 3 to 4 times the price of manufacturing over here than overseas. But if you wanted to find a US manufacturer, contract manufacturer is good. Because if you're calling up a company that's making something and that's all they do for a living, then that's all they do. And you're kind of going into their wheelhouse, and you're kind of that wheel, right? That third wheel. Or you find contract manufacturers. So a good resource for that is thomasnet.com. And I had them on, guys, everybody listening, like National Inventor Club. I've interviewed so many people, including thomasnet.com. And I'm going to talk to you about alibaba.com. Yeah, there are some really good resources on National Inventor Club. All these are previously recorded, just like Venture Starters has all recorded. I have a whole National Inventor Club YouTube channel that you can go and learn how to do a copy. Not the most exciting episode of how to do a copyright, because the gentleman who went through filing copyrights went through every piece of the website, so you know how to do it. But I've had Thomasnet, Alibaba.com. So if you wanted to find a factory overseas, you can search on there sometimes those people on there, the companies, they might be salespeople, distributors. You might not want that. You might want to find an OEM, like a factory that can take OEM, like original concepts, and be able to make it kind of order takers. That's what I like. I like order takers. I like to give you my CAD file. I don't really need to say much because they speak for themselves, or my specs, give it to you and you understand it and you give me a price, and then you make them and you ship them to me. And that's what you do. You don't sell, but maybe some of them sell, and maybe they do a little bit of OEM, contract manufacturing. So I like Alibaba. So I've manufactured in Malaysia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, India, a lot of fabrics there, and medical is interesting there, and the US, like plastic injection molding. Sometimes it works out well here because by the time you ship it from overseas and it's a small product, like it might end up being worth it to just do here, but then you have the packaging and all these other components that you have to make sure and figure out. Like Bruce mentioned, like there's all these variables of what makes up a product cost, and you got to be realistic of what it is. And shipping at one point last year, I think it was, or 2 years ago, time is moving quickly. Like, oh my goodness, trying to get a container, like you have to get your orders in to meet the buyer's expectations because they're counting on you and they have to fill their shelves up. So I couldn't tell you how many companies either went out of business or they took major losses just to accommodate the buyer so they wouldn't burn their account. So thank goodness all that's passed. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activity to be able to manufacture. But at this point, I feel like I can manufacture anything. Like you could show me, I've worked on polypectomy devices and riggers and novelty items and like anything that you can think of. I've pretty much gotten my involved in industries, and I learn about them so I can become either understanding of where you're coming from if you understand the industry. But that's why I feel like I've this is so much fun because I learn about people and I learn about industries and products and get to see some successes and learn from failures and keep finding ways to keep people going.
And we appreciate your guidance in this space tremendously. Karen Katena has a question. She says she has a product that she invented or prototype is with the manufacturer and she filed a patent. It's a medical device to help prevent UTIs for women. She's trying to find funding. Brian, do you recommend crowdfunding, and what are your suggestions for finding funding?
I think that crowdfunding you mentioned, I think it could be good for some people. I think sometimes it could be a little rough for others. Like when you put a crowdfunding like on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, like you really need to have a good social media presence. If you don't, and you just keep asking your friends and family for money, I don't know how often how many times you can ask the same people for money, but if they're not funding you or they're not giving you anything, like you might not be speaking after that. So I've seen a lot of things happen. You really need to have a good marketing presence, and it's not cheap. Like, yeah, you need to really have a good, and just because you put it on a crowdfunding platform doesn't mean you're going viral. Okay. I think that you can try to, again, like I'm working with a lady right now. She's a nurse, and she came up with something for catheters, and we're working on this piece, and we work with a medical device engineer, and we had to get an electrical engineer involved, and we're kind of vetting what we need to do and what it costs, and we can make some prototypes. And the medical industry is tough. I could tell you that I've worked with many doctors, and as we've gone through it, some of them have come to me from the start and others have been far in the process. And sometimes we get to the point where most of the products need to be some kind of certification or FDA approved. It's not, I'm getting I just did my taxes, so 10Ks, 501, I forgot what it's called for the FDA filing. But when you realize that there's so much money that needs to be put into filing for FDA, like I've had many doctors fall off and say, I'm not doing this. So we try to license it. But if you're going to try to license a medical device, realistically, you need an issued patent. and then you could show it, because a lot of them don't want to see without an issued patent. Every industry, every product, I'm sorry, every company is different what they require. But yeah, I think you should just start off and make some prototypes. And even with distribution in medical, like this lady with the catheter attachment, it's tough, because even if you started to manufacture it, there's so many suppliers, or maybe there's not so many, but there's suppliers that the hospitals, let's say, buy from. And if you're not in that catalog, or you're going to compete against one of the ones that they have a good relationship with, realistically, it might be tough. And are you making the cost of the medical things that are needed in the hospital cost more? Like, are you making them spend more money? I know some nurses that bring reams of paper into the hospital because the hospital doesn't have enough funding. So are you doing something that's saving the hospital money, or are you making them cost more? Is it something that you can manufacture yourself and get into the medical space if you have that hook? Or is it too much to be able to kind of break through that way? Medical industry is tough. Hardware industry is a little tough too, because so many of the people, the contractors, they're so used to the tools, it's hard to break through with innovation. But there are great innovations that are coming through. I'm just giving you some examples of things that I've kind of experienced. Hopefully that helped.
Absolutely. I see 2 thumbs up coming from Karen. And Brian, as we could see through the threads and chats, your message has been very well received. We really appreciate all of your expertise. For all those that have joined, and for those yet to watch the recording, Brian's information is available. Please feel free to add him through LinkedIn. Visit his Investor Smart app, or look up Brian on his website at brianfried.com and the National Inventor Club. Brian, thank you so much for your time here today and for being part of the Venture Starters community. To those that were the first 3 to ask questions, we will be sending you books. Brian, I will send them to the addresses to you following our call. And thank you again for everything.
Thank you very much. And everybody, keep moving forward with your big ideas. I wish you all the best, and let's keep in touch. I love to see things happen and grow and be successful and have success stories come out of this group. Mark and Erin and Norma, you're all doing an amazing thing here, giving people a chance to pitch their ideas when you do, and be able to have these type of experiences and have speakers. I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully everybody got something out of it. I did, that's for sure. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian and Aaron. I just want everybody to feel free to turn their mic on and shower Brian with some verbal praise for him doing this for us. We appreciate that very much. Thanks, you, Brian.
Great, great.
Brian,
Thank
thanks
you.
ever so much.
Great job, Brian.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thanks,
Well
Brian.
done.
Everybody save your chat.
Read my comment about your egg tray.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I love the egg tray. I
Thank
have to
you.
get it.
I need to sell more, so
love
you
it.
could go on Amazon and buy it and show your support.
I'm going to. I love it.
I like
I
the
still
clear
have too
top
many in my
holder.
garage. My
like
wife
the
wants
Come
to
back
make the
again.
bikes.
Towels. Clear top for the paper towels. That's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love
I'm
that
in for
too.
the
egg tray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next event is Wednesday. Hopefully we'll see everybody there. Take care, everybody. Good night.